The plan is to begin the program right at 6 o'clock. With that in mind, within the next few minutes, if you haven't already found a place to sit, please do so. And if you want to make one more trip to the bar, now is the time to do so. So we'll plan on the program beginning in about 6 minutes by my watch. So we'll welcome you formally at that point in time. Now, John Beard was hoping to be here to welcome everyone, but I suspect most of you know that he recently had a grandchild out in California, and he is so attracted to that grandchild, he decided to stay out there, and as a result of that, he's asked me to fill in for him. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Don Graham, but we do welcome you. We appreciate the fact that you're here, especially in an environment like this where people are talking about diseases and pandemics and everything else. We appreciate the support, and especially your support, those of you who are members of RAGS. Now, we do have some special guests with us tonight, and it's tradition that we welcome them in a special way. First of all, Gary and Marie Batassi. They're sitting at the table to my left, your right for most of you. You're going to hear their names mentioned a couple of other times through the course of the evening. And then there are 4 other people, I believe, that are here. These people are sometimes referred to as Norm's crew, sometimes referred to as the Thursday afternoon crew, but Mike Burkett and Sean and Don Iverson and Weldon Falco. Can you all see them? If you can't, I will ask them to stand, but they do a lot of work around the village, and they have been involved in restoring the hand cart. I'm not sure what Norm is going to say about that. They've been involved in painting the school and the museum and everything else, so they do a lot, and watching them from a little bit of a distance, I really appreciate that, and I'm sure all of you do as well. Yeah, thank you for that. Now, are there any other guests with us tonight? Any members that have brought guests that you would like to introduce? Yeah. Ken?
I brought Carl and Debbie Barecki, owners of Country Real Estate.
Okay, welcome to you. So, any others?
Gary Bertowski and his wife will help take the witness down last weekend.
We mentioned them, and I understand that age plays a part here.
I was watching live streaming on YouTube.
Yeah. By the way, if you don't know, there's a young man by the name of Kyle in the back of the room here, and you are being filmed at this point, and this event is being broadcast. Now, I don't believe the meal is going to be broadcast, but the program itself. But yeah. Now, one direction before we give thanks for the food. The salad and bread will come to your tables. You don't need to get up for that. Once that is in place, the hostesses will come to your table and invite you to go to the banquet table. So hopefully that's clear, but salad and bread will come to you. You don't need to move, and then the rest will become obvious. So, all right, let's give thanks for the food, shall we? Father, we do thank you for the opportunity to be together tonight. We thank you for all those that have planned this event, who've participated in the preparation of it. We thank you for those that have prepared the food. We thank you for the joy of an evening like this, when we can be together and enjoy the camaraderie and conversation, and we pray that that would be pleasing to you. We thank you now for the food. We ask that you would bless that to our bodies, for our benefit, and we ask all of this in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen. Even though I'm talking, if somebody wants to come up and get more dessert, feel free to do that. You will not offend me or any of the other speakers. So we want you to enjoy the night, and probably dessert is part of that. Once again, on behalf of John Beard, welcome. Appreciate the fact that you're here. And I'm going to call the meeting to order officially. And the first thing that we normally do, and I'd like to invite you to stand as we say the Pledge of Allegiance. And I didn't see a flag anywhere. The flag is normally off to your right, so if you feel inclined to, I was going to say look at John, but he's a moving target. So, but let's stand and let's say the Pledge of Allegiance anyway, please. I pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Hopefully all of you got a packet when you came in tonight, and please take the opportunity to leaf through that. There are a couple of very important things in there. Number one, the minutes from, I was going to say last year, when we had the Zoom meeting, and you probably remember that. Also, the treasurer's report is in there. On the inside back cover is the calendar of events scheduled for 2022. There are some other committee reports and so forth. So please have or take a minute or two to go through that. Now, the first order of business is to approve the 2021 annual meeting minutes. And they are in that packet. Maybe we haven't given you enough time to review that, but if somebody has reviewed it, we'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes. Norm, second, Ken. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Now, Rags has been very fortunate to have a very friendly relationship with the city of Richmond. And every year we enjoy hearing a little bit about that. And tonight, we're happy to have John Moore with us. And we're going to call on him now and turn the mic over to him. Thank you.
Don, thank you very much for the invitation again this year to come and speak to the RAGS annual dinner regarding the partnership between the City of Richmond and RAGS. First and foremost, I'd like to introduce those from the city that are here. Our City Council member, Jamie Green. Our Mayor Pro Tem, Mike Mistrovich. Our Public Service Director, Jim Getzinger. And representing not only the city, but the area around us, our State Representative, Jeff York. With that, as I mentioned, it's my honor to kind of talk a little bit about our partnership. The City Council certainly values the partnership. We often, it takes many forms. One way is the approval of events. For example, the Heritage Festival and the Cemetery Walk. We look forward to partnering each year with the chairs of those events as they get their council approvals. And it's been great to watch them as they've continued year after year and have grown each year. They're much better events, and we look forward to working with you on those events this upcoming year or any new events that RAGS has in the works. As many of you noticed tonight, as we're taping and being live streamed, our cable channel 6 often tapes or live streams events for RAGS from anything from the programs that are put on in the community center to events such as the handcart racing up and down Beach Street. So it's a great opportunity for RAGS to be able to tape events and have their members see them even when they're not able to be there in person. Probably the unsung hero of our city is our Public Works Department. They often are the person that I call at a moment's notice to say, hey, Tom Habel's given me a call, or Rich Weiner's given me a call, and they need a pile of dirt moved. They need some help with the bell tower. Can we bring our lift out, and can Parker run up there and put some boards up in the bell tower? And so, you know, we're always happy to lend a hand when we have the hand available, and don't feel embarrassed to call. Like I said, as long as we have somebody available, we'll always be there for you. Another way that we partner with RAGS is through planning, and Rich Weiner has done a great job with the long-term planning committee, having the city council approve the overall plan for the historic site and the extension of Bailey Park, whether that's in the form of the barn being moved there, the windmill that just got put over there this week, or the transition of the barn or the garage into a gas station. Rich has done a great job getting the overall plan approved, and then as each individual project gets going, he brings that back to council to make sure that we're still on board with that plan. But this year takes on kind of a new twist as the city starts to get into the historic preservation business. We were fortunate to have the school board have the foresight after some long negotiations of keeping the Roosevelt Auditorium in public hands. This past December, on the 1st, December 1st actually, the superintendent and I went to the closing. We purchased the building for $1, and although there's a lot of facility needs that our city and tax increment finance authority are going to need to do to that building, we look forward to preserving one of the most historically significant buildings in our community. And we hope that RAGS will partner with us as we undertake that endeavor. One of the things that we'll be doing very soon is putting out in our newsletter and on our website kind of a survey, throwing it out to the community members. What would you like to see in that building, whether it be programming, events, and as I look around, I would hope that any people here that remember some of the events that were held in the Aud, that you bring those ideas back to the city, and we make that building a true civic auditorium like it was in the past. That is our goal, and we look forward to working with RAGS as they help us do that. So that's kind of my quick comments about our partnership with RAGS, but with the blessing of the City Council, I have one more city duty tonight, and that is to announce the 2021 Volunteer of the Year. This person is always selected each year by the City Council. The Volunteer of the Year award was a memorial donation made by the family of Doug Penzine, a longtime member of RAGS, and each year we give it to the person that the City Council feels was deserving to be named Volunteer of the Year. This year, the person who was selected has always taken the time to make sure that our city Christmas decorations get up out onto the street. He serves on our planning commission. He serves on our tax increment finance authority. He serves as a director of RAGS and your chair of the long-term preservation committee. At this time, I would like Rich Weiner to step up. And accept the plaque for Volunteer of the Year. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you, Rich.
All right, Rich is going to be back up here in a second, but just to give him time to get his heart rate back down. This has been a big year for Rich. If you don't know this, he was also elected by the women of Richmond as the best looking man in the city. So that may not be completely accurate, but now a couple of things here. Number one, you know that a lot of work went into the event tonight. And one of the dangers is I'm not sure of all of the effort that went into it, but there's 3 people that spent a lot of time planning and working. John Beard is one. He's not here, obviously. But Chris Nolan and Diane Gibson. And so really appreciate what they've done. And when I talked to Chris, she says Diane did the lion's share of the work. If I asked Diane, she might say Chris did the lion's share of the work. When I talked to both of them, it sounds like they both did a lot. The other thing I want to mention, if you take a look at the agenda in your packet, I'm going to modify that. When I was asked to chair the meeting, I also took the liberty of rearranging things a little bit. So if you think I'm skipping somebody when we get near the end of the program, no. Everything you see in there will be covered, but in a slightly different order. Now, you heard about some of Rich's work. And he is going to describe what the long-term planning committee has done. And then when he is done, Tom Habel is going to come with a couple of words as well. Now, according to our bylaws, the president has the prerogative to assign a task force for special projects. And John has done that, and Tom is going to speak on behalf of that group. So. Rich first, and then Tom, I won't even introduce you. You just come on up and follow Rich.
Thank you. Thanks for the honor. Lost words about that. Appreciate it. God was a family friend. And special. Appreciate it. So I'm going to give a little update on our long-term preservation committee. The members of our committee are Dave Foster, Tom Cable, Norm Gibson, Doug Logan, Bob Kohlhagen, and myself. And this year, we've done several projects during the pandemic. The schoolhouse itself actually has 3 projects going on. And volunteers have been helping out, and Norm Gibson, Bob Kohlhagen, Don Graham, Doug Logan, Mike Musket, Mike McCanny, John Beard, myself, Parker Trent, Sean Tucker, the painters. And, one of the first projects we did was we discovered that the power was leaking in the schoolhouse. And the louvers, when the wind blows, the rain would blow in and somehow work its way down to the ceiling. So we were, as John Moore mentioned, we asked him to borrow their new man lift, and Parker Trent brought it over and ended up volunteering to do the work because he walked the ridge of the building to get over there and open that back louver up. So he went in there and put plywood up to stop the wind from blowing the rain, and hopefully it won't leak anymore. There's some of our important workers there observing the action. Now, if you look down in the corner here, there's a loose board. Sean and Mike are going to be painting the building, and we wanted to fix that before we had the painting done. There's Parker Trent. And it turns out there was much more underneath that board than we expected. The whole sill was rotted, and pull it all out with your hand. So that corner of the building was sort of floating there. And Bob and Norman are pointing out the problems. You can see the gaps. So we replaced the sill and sistered in some of the wood to help support that corner. And this is Norm finishing up the work. Sean and Mike are going to be painting the building the remainder of the spring, but you can see we had to run another man to get up there to paint the tower. On the left is the way the louvers used to be painted, but Norm discovered that the way the colors were applied into the original school was all green with the white surround. filling station project, we're looking to turn this garage into a historic looking filling station. This is how it looks now. We're using some of the old filling stations from town as an example of what it might look like. And this is the golf station. I believe it's at near where the village restaurant is. So you can see it has an overhang there. And Dave Foster has drawn up these plans to show how we can turn that building into a looking of a historic filling station. This is sort of an illustration of how it might look with some old-fashioned homes. We also are still working through the Agricultural Museum Shed project. We're rethinking it a bit because we applied for a grant that we didn't get. We're going to try and bring the costs down and try our thinking on that. The windmill project, which just sort of happened this past weekend, Gary Picasso and his crew were instrumental. Tom Gable is one of the volunteers who brought his equipment. Christine Rowley coordinated with Lori Gore, who donated the windmill. And Norm and Bob were at the site when we brought it in. Gary had all his equipment there. Parker Trend and Eric Steyer were working with him. And Bob Eisenhart provided one of his trucks and a driver and cable to move the windmill. You can see here the windmill is out by a pond on Lindsay Road, Lori Gore's house. And on the right, that's Tom Gable driving his machine and cutting torches out to cut off the base. Here's Tom watching Parker Trend and cutting. And you can see on the picture on the right, Gary's machine was able to just pick it up like a tomato plant out of the flower bed. And he carried it out to the road, and then they placed it on Bob Eisenhart's big truck. And then the lower right, that's Bob, and Norman was one of the co-stays this year. So that's the current state of the long-term preservation. Any questions? Ideas? Whatever, let us know. Who's next? Oh, no, Tom.
Thank you, Rich. You got to push the button or anything? No, just kind of hold it close. Hold it close? Okay. Well, first I want to congratulate Rich. That's very deserving on that award that you received. You notice that who you're following on that, don't you? Rich?
You are.
Yeah, right. You got big shoes to fill.
I've been honored to be your assistant. I remember that one time we were putting Christmas lights up, and you had chain down a scissors lift to your trailer.
Right, right.
When we had the big Cobra lights. And Tom and I were on that. Don't worry, Rich. And we kept going higher and higher and higher. As it leaned towards the light, the chains were going doom, doom. Just get that bracket off, Rich. Okay. We made it. Fortunately, the pole there, the pole kind of.
And that is a true story, guys. That is a true one. Well, I'm up here to just go over quickly with this long-term planning that we're on that Rich just brought to our attention. We, through our president, created a task force just to discuss the pros and cons as to what we should do and not do as far as which project should be done first or second or whatnot. Otherwise, we get too many coals going to the fire, we all go in circles. So the task force decided that we're going to concentrate this forthcoming year on the gas station. That's a more feasible venture right now, and we can probably attack that, and with the assistance of the city of Richmond, naturally. But that's our goal for this year overall, to try and get that gas station done and over with. And then once we can complete that, then we're going to go ahead and start doing the tool shed or equipment shed or whatnot. So that's pretty well the gist of it, just so everybody knows what our objectives are for this forthcoming year, and that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I think everybody's aware that RAGS is closely associated with the foundation, and Ken Simmons is going to come now and describe those activities.
The foundation was set up years ago in order to manage gifts received by the society that you don't want just spent all at once. You want to be able to accumulate them and then use the investments as they grow to generate income to support the projects of the foundation. And we, as you can see, by the way, John Beard wanted to have a succinct report. I think I beat him. But you can see we've got two funds set up. The Donnelly's family set up the cabin fund a few years ago. Initially they set it up with $75,000 with the thought that long-term costs of preserving the cabin would run about 5% of that, and $75,000 would produce a 5% return that would cover the costs. Well, we started the year with $97,000 in that, and we ended the year with $114,000 in it. So we had a very good year from an investment standpoint. In addition to that, the foundation has a separate fund that started the year with $91,000. We donated $2,000 towards the electricity for the barn, $3,500 for the cost of paying the schoolhouse. That money's not been spent yet; it'll be spent this year. We still ended the year with almost $97,000, so we had a very good year there too. We still have $4,300 in the bank. Life's busy. Some things you don't think about. One thing I urge all of you to think about is your final gifts to the society. You've been supporting the society your whole life. We appreciate that. We think it's a project worthy of your support. And I'll remind you that you have the opportunity to make one final gift to the society in your final estate plan. It could be a beneficiary designation. It could be a bank account designation, a percentage of a life insurance policy or an annuity. There's lots of ways you can support the society through wills and trusts, and I'd urge you to think about that. And anyone who wants to discuss that, I'll discuss it free of charge with any of you and be able to give you my ideas. And thank you for your support.
All right, thank you very much, Ken. And that work obviously very much appreciated by all of us in RAGS. Also associated with the finances, our treasurer, Diane Gibson. And I've, been associated with the RAGS, I don't know how many years now, but very, very impressed with Diane. I don't want to embarrass her, but if you have any concerns about the way your money is spent or whether any of it's going to be lost or anything, follow Diane Gibson around for a day, and you'll realize that isn't the case. So I should have waited till she was done maybe, but we really appreciate her work. It's incredible. No sense of humor when it comes to money. So Diane, come on up here and describe a little bit about the financial report. You'll find it in your packet. And so.
Can I do it without that?
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
I think you can all hear her? Yes.
Can you hear me? Do I hear yes and no's? Oh, Mary Ellen says I have to do that. Okay.
Closer to your mouth, the better.
Okay, can you hear me now? Yes. Okay. One of the things that we have to do with the treasurer yearly is have an audit, and it has to be done before this meeting. That has been done. The books are all in order. We have to have 3 members look at that, and I think Charlotte Ward, Mary Ellen Logan, and Doug Logan. Doug stepped in at the last minute for us, which I really appreciate. You have the income and expenses. We've been very fortunate this year in having donations. The foundation has been very generous in helping us out. So despite COVID, we've done pretty well. And yes, I do try and take care of your money.
All right, thank you, Diane. And because this has been audited and you have it in front of you, no action is required on that. So it's for your information. All right, next on the agenda, Doug Logan. You heard his name. He's going to come now. There's a vote that does have to be taken, and he'll describe that.
Hi, I was asked to be on a committee along with Doug Porritt. Very good. Yes, I was asked. How about that? I was asked to be on a committee along with Doug Porritt, Marguerite Little, and since Tom Habel had stepped down from the foundation board, we nominated Christine Rowley, so there will be a vote on that. Also on the RAGS board, Rich Weinert has been nominated, taking over John Beard's position.
All right, you've heard the nominations from the nominating committee. Are there any other nominations for those two positions, Foundation Board and RAGS Board, from the floor? Speak now, or nominations are closed. All right, we'll do this by a voice vote. All in favor of those two nominations, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, congratulations to those two people. All right, also on the back inside cover of the packet that you have in front of you is the calendar for the year 2022. Many of these events are, I'll call it routine. That doesn't mean they're unimportant or you shouldn't pay attention to them. I'm going to only talk about a couple of these. We're going to hear about the tea a little bit later. And if you want to know about the men's event, the cookout, you can see Rich Weinert on that as well. The Heritage Festival, obviously important to me. That's become a big event for us. We have a lot of visitors, a lot of antique tractors, antique cars, a lot of displays and events and hands-on activities and all of that. We're planning that at the end of June, as you can see. Now, the next one I do want to highlight and call your attention to. On July 23rd, you'll see Into the Village. Now, we've had that for quite some time. People have the opportunity to come in and take a look at the gardens that Marcia and her crew put together. Just spectacular. In addition to that, this year, we are going to host Festival of Fibers. And there are some people off to your right. Dennis and Audrey, if you'd raise your hand at least, if not stand, they are the primary planners of this. There's quite a bit of interest in weaving and other things associated with fibers in a very general way. And we thought it would be fantastic to use the village to host that event. And the initial plans sound fantastic to me. So if you have any interest in cloth or fiber or anything like that, please plan on attending. And if you're willing to help out, see either Dennis or Audrey over there in the side of the room. And if you have any questions about it, if you want to know what's happening or what's going to happen, they're the people to see. I don't know either one of them real well. I've talked to both of them a number of times. They're very friendly people as far as I can tell. Don't be afraid to approach them. Good old days. I'll talk about that a little bit later, but we can use some help there as well. It was a great event last year, in spite of COVID and everything else. The cemetery walk, I didn't get permission, but see Mary Ellen and Doug about that if you're interested in helping. That was really successful as well. I was talking to some people over here that joined because of cemetery walk, and they were so impressed with it. And then Christmas in the Village at the end of the year. We hope to have that in 2022. So there are a number of things there. I think you know who the responsible parties are, and if you have questions or would like to participate, by all means, see those people. All right, next on our agenda, Christine Rowley is going to come, and obviously she was president for a number of years, and she continues to be very, very active, which is much appreciated. And she's going to talk to us about some of the things she's involved in.
Thanks, John. Thank you. Before I begin, there's something I would like to let everybody know this evening, and that is that we have a couple with us this evening who are celebrating a very special anniversary. Penny and Dave Yelenich, 50 years. Here's to you. When I told Penny the date of tonight's meeting, she said, "Oh my, I don't know what my kids are planning. We might be busy that night," and I don't know what our kids are planning, but they chose to be with us tonight, so we're really, really proud of that. So tonight I'm here not with a big hat on. I'm here with 3 smaller hats, but it's good to be back at the mic with you. Tonight I'm here to talk to you about membership, about the newsletter, and about the tea. So first of all, about the membership, I would like to let you know that we have a total of, I counted them yesterday, 211 members, and then just today we had a new member, Jackie Cook, who has joined us, Jackie Fogarty, for those of you who are old-time Richmond people. So now we have a total of 212 people in our membership. We have 93 of those are lifetime members. Out-of-state members, we have 37, and those people are, I hope are joining us tonight virtually, and many of them are very, very involved with us. New in 2021, we had 9 members, and a few of those are with us tonight. So I would like to invite you to stand up. I know Joe Stevens is back at the table where I was. The Getzingers are new, and Dennis Holgram is new. Wave to us, guys, or stand up. Those are new. Is there anybody else in the audience who is new in 2021? So welcome to Rags, and we will get you busy real soon. And we have charter members with us tonight. I know we have Sue Jakubiak, we have Ursula, and we have George. Are there any other charter members with us tonight? So the 3 of you charter members who are here, please raise your hand or just wave to us so we can acknowledge you. So there's always things to do at the society. As I was thinking about what I wanted to say to you tonight, I was thinking about a longtime Richmond person, Fred Sharp. So many of you remember Fred Sharp. He, in his later years, when he would say, "Yeah, I'll take that job if it's a sitting job." So ever since then, I've made the distinction between sitting jobs and then other jobs. So I just want you to know that at the society, we have jobs for everybody. We have sitting jobs, we have standing jobs, we have motionless jobs, and then we have, of course, lots of active jobs. So I'm just asking you, I'm pleading with you to whatever you can offer as a member, please step up and do it. We have all kinds of jobs, everything to do for whatever you are willing to contribute to us. So we would welcome you to stop by on Thursday mornings or at any of our events and let us know what you can do. My second hat tonight is as the newsletter editor, and I'm really happy to do that. I'm really enjoying doing that, but I'm always looking for additional fodder for the newsletter. I don't know if the last one that was published, which was at the beginning of this year, had it was just like on a whim. Ellen Foss Hewitt sent me a picture of 6 Foss brothers, and I printed that in the newsletter. And so many people have told me that was just really special, and that's the kind of thing I like to include. So I would welcome and I would invite all of you to just send me a picture of family or of something going on in Richmond, something to do with Richmond history, and I would love to put it in the newsletter. It doesn't have to be lengthy. You don't have to write anything. If you want to, that would be great, but you don't have to. We'll just make sure it gets in there because that's especially our out-of-state people tell me how much they appreciate that, and so I want to keep doing that for our membership. So I would please let me know about that on the membership, on the newsletters. We have a lot of the newsletters. I send about 55 out through the U.S. mail. The rest are through e-news, through email. And if you are getting your newsletter and you're happy with it, that's great. If you would like to change the way you get your newsletter, let me know that, because that's all something that I want to put down in the records and get it straightened out very, very soon. My third hat tonight is with the tea. The historic tea is scheduled for March 12th. This year, and this is probably not new information for any of you, but I will just give you a brief summary of it. It is at Solitude Links, which is formerly Four Lakes in Wadhams. And we're going ahead with it. People have been a little reluctant to buy tickets, but I think I just got a call just tonight. A woman just called me while I was having dinner and ordered 6 tickets. So so things are, it's looking up. We're going to do it. This year, our program is Wedding Gowns Through the Ages. And this is going to be a really special program. We have local women who are going to display their wedding gowns. One gown that we have is from Ginny Foster. It's been in her family for, I believe it's her third great grandmother. The dress dates to 1839. And we have been in touch with the woman who's doing the program, and she's very excited about looking at that dress and incorporating it into our program. Another dress that is going to be featured in the program is Susan Foster's wedding gown, and I would like her to tell you about that very, very special gown. It's just the story is just amazing. Susan.
Well, my father was a veteran of World War II, and he served in the occupation forces in Japan. And he brought home a Japanese parachute. My mother, it was beautiful white silk, and said, this should be Susan's wedding gown, because I was 3 years old, I think, when he came home. Oops, I just dropped her glasses. So my mother said, how am I going to preserve it? So in those days, they all had their cedar chest. So she very diligently rolled it into a ball and put it into a mason jar and put it into her cedar chest, because the parachute was that fine of silk that it could roll all up into a mason jar. So when David and I got engaged and we started talking about a wedding and a wedding dress, she got it out, and it was an absolute mass of wrinkles. I mean, it looked like it had been in the war, literally. So we said, well, what can we do? So we took the risk, we washed it and ran it through a mangle, an old-fashioned mangle, and ironed it out. It was flat, and if you come to the tea, the dress will be displayed. My mother made it, we designed it together, and it's been around for 58 years. So it's worth coming and taking a look at it at the tea.
Thank you, that's something to look forward indeed. So I'm just, I guess I just want to, before I conclude, just tell you that if anybody is interested in tea tickets, or if you know people who are, let me know, let Sue Jakubiak know. We are both selling tickets. We have them with us tonight. If you are not interested, but if you think you have somebody who might be, send them our way. It's going to be a fantastic event on March 12th. So that's it. I'm going to take my hats off now.
All right, thank you very much. You probably have noticed that on just about every project and every committee, the name Norm Gibson is shown. And one of his jobs is that of chairman of the Acquisitions Committee, and he's going to come now and talk a little bit about that. And one of the things I think I was supposed to do, Norm, maybe you ought to do that, the table. Do you want to talk about that, or should I? Some of the acquisitions are on the table in front of you, right in the center of the table. So there's a little display there, and you can read about what the object is, touch it, handle it, and so forth. Norm?
Okay. I don't know. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I prepared a few notes so that I don't forget anything. I'm getting to that age, you know. Any rate, I was asked to talk about what we're looking for in acquisitions. A lot of things show up. They're out on your table, some of those items. Obviously, we're looking for vintage, formerly known as antique items. The older, the better. Items that are no longer in use. would be helpful, be nice to have. Ideally, these items should be related to Richmond history. The more information that you have about the item, the better. Has it been in your family, for how long, so on. Items that demonstrations can be done with, or are hands-on items that our visitors can use. Popular items right now in our collection are things like the rope maker, corn sheller, corn grinder, bean separator, and our recent acquisition this year of the milking cow, which is very popular with the kids and their parents who just get tickled watching the kids milk the cow. One of the problems, though, that we have is that size matters. Even though we have 6 buildings, we have limited space. So large items that we might like to have, we may have to turn away. But at the same time, we would like to have a chance to look at it and decide whether we can take it or turn it away. So you might want to bring that in. Let us have that opportunity to take a look at them. The item that you might bring in may be better than one, in better condition than one we already have. And that would be a good way to improve our collection. The more Richmond history that you have with the item, the better. So if you can say that your great, well, add as many greats on there as you want, grandparent or ancestor used it, that'd be great. We'd like to have that information. If your family ancestors lived in Richmond, it would be nice to have a genealogy for them. In other words, a family history. We put it in our files. One of the things that I'd really like to see more of is abstracts for property, homes and businesses. You would be amazed sometimes about the kinds of information that you can find in those abstracts. Wills, okay, that say who got the property, or all sorts of number of things. I've read some that gave me some clues as to what was going on with some of those people back then, and now I understand why they look the way they look in their photographs. Out in front of you, you have items that most of them are currently on display in our museum. And there's a little name tag with it that tells you some information about the particular item. Right now, our current exhibit has items that are household items, Richmond sports teams and equipment. We have toys. We also have a special exhibit that was put together by Al Collins, right over here. He put together a Native American Indian display, and it's really nice. And if you get a chance, it'd be good to come in and see it. Some of these items that come in need to be restored, fixed, preserved. I am very fortunate to have friends who usually make some major, take on some major project each winter and spring. Sometimes it runs over into the summer. And that's the guys sitting over here, my Thursday afternoon crew, Weldon and Mike and Don. Sean's not here this evening. But those guys come to my house on Thursday afternoon. We work in the shop. They have been working for a number of years on things. The last year's project was the railroad handcar. And if you haven't seen it, man, you should. It turned out really well, and it works. I'm going to see if I can talk them into working with me on getting the windmill ready to put up. And that's going to take a little bit of doing, but I think they're up to it. They really know how to do stuff. And I think that's about it, unless somebody has any questions. Here you go.
And thank you, Norm. Norm has also been very diligent in putting a lot of displays in the upstairs of the barn. And so if you haven't been through the barn in about the last 6 months or so, on Thursday morning, come by, or during one of the festivals we have during the year, and you'll see a lot of things that are put up there. Now, one of the big donations that we were given this year is on the screen right now. The most popular tractor of all time is called a Farmall H. And there are two people in the room that are very passionate about that. One is Bob Kohlhagen, and I don't know if, do you want to stand? Why don't you stand up, even if you don't want to? You have seen his name on a lot of these projects as well. He works and he works and he works, and just incredible. He and I are both red tractor kind of people. And the Donnellys have been very generous to Rags, and the latest example of that is this Farmall H tractor. You're going to hear more about that in the newsletter that Christine will send you later in the year. You're going to see it this summer at the Heritage Festival. We're going to feature it in our advertising. And it's a 1946 tractor, and that year was chosen because on the Donnelly farm on 29 Mile Road, the first rubber-tired tractor they got, and they got it because a lady used her entire life savings to buy this for the Donnelly men, happened that year. And this photograph that you see here, I don't know how well you can see it, especially if you're in the back, but you'll see a youngster on the back of the tractor. That is Larry Donnelly. It's his face that appears on the brass plaque near the log cabin. His uncle Huey is on the seat, and they're pulling a drag on that farm on 29 Mile. We intend to reproduce that this summer at the Heritage Festival. Larry's aware of that, and the tractor is here in the area now, and it's in great shape. Starts great, runs great. Matter of fact, why don't you put the next slide up there? This is what it looks like. This is while it is still in the Chicago area. John Donnelly lives in the Chicago area, an attorney, and he purchased this thing for Rags, and hopes that it will be displayed in connection with the log cabin. There's another picture there as well. Runs great, starts great, really nice sheet metal. Tractor people like Bob and I, the first thing you say, does it start? Does it run? What's the sheet metal like? And just in great shape. There are a couple of small leaks that we're working on right now, but you'll get a chance to see that this summer. All right. One of the things that we look forward to every year is a talk that we call Slice of Richmond. And Pat Mcclellan has been in this area, not only associated with Rags, but associated with the community for many, many years. And he has agreed to come and talk a little bit about his work and some of his compatriots and all that sort of thing. And we appreciate his ability to do that and interest in doing it. And we're going to turn the podium over to him at this time. So, Pat, thank you for being here, and we look forward to your presentation. All right. Would you like this, or a table, or what do you prefer? The podium would be fine. Okay.
I think I'm the only one that came in costume tonight. I was actually asked to do what I consider to be an impossible task. The directions I were given was summarize the changes in medicine that have occurred in Richmond, Michigan since I began practice here in 1965. That field is enormous, and I apologize to you, I cannot do it. There are two sources of change in healthcare in Richmond, Michigan. Number one is things that happened in this community that produced change. Number two are things that happened outside this community that produced change. I'll try to cover both, and in order to do that, I'm going to divide the subject matter into two distinct fields. First, changes that affect diagnosis of disease, and secondly, changes that affect treatment of disease. Before I start, I think it's fair to begin with a brief discussion of why I came to Richmond. I did a rotating internship at what was then Mount Clemens General Hospital. That's 12 months of training in the various disciplines of medicine. And during that 12-month period, I signed a contract to further my education in the field of internal medicine. I signed a residency contract for an additional 3 years of study. During that year, I was privileged to be invited to observe a family practice in Chelsea, Michigan. That family practice provided excellence of primary care, family medicine, and emergency service. It was a semi-rural practice. That episode was transitional for me. I decided I would rather do family practice. Several circumstances aided my decision. First of all, my program director was very supportive of my decision and encouraged it. Secondly, John Engels had a heart attack, Ed Walsh was deceased, and Dr. Kirker was seriously ill. There was a huge need for medical care in Richmond, Michigan. I met Dr. Frank Markey and Dr. Robert Bernard. They were actively looking for office space, and they agreed to cooperate with me and a partner to find suitable office space. We opened in the old Heath House, August 2nd, 1965. Just to sort of put that in perspective, July of 1965, President Lyndon Johnson signed the Medicare Act. So for me, starting within a month of the Medicare Act, Medicare has been an integral part of my experience in medicine. Just as an aside, it was a 1-month conversion of the Heath House from the former residence to an office practice. On the day before we opened, my wife, and someone some of you may know, Dr. Ruth Howell, formerly of Mount Clemens, Michigan, painted the front porch of that office. Again, keeping in mind a loose division of diagnostic and therapeutic changes in Richmond. I must confess that most of the changes come from outside the city, but I think everyone here will recognize some that did. Let's first of all talk about x-rays in 1965. X-rays by both dentists and physicians were wet film. You stood in front of a piece of film, the machine x-rayed you, the image was on the film, and the film was then dipped in a series of solutions to produce a finished x-ray. Changes. Now it is all digital. You stand in front of a screen that records the electronic impulses. They are transferred to a viewing screen. The images are now stored on discs. There is less radiation for you. The quality of images are superior to the old wet film. Sort of a spin-off from X-ray, the Dexa Scan. This audience is largely women. Osteoporosis, a serious consequence for a lot of women. The Dexa Scan is a radiation-like device that measures bone density. By the time X-rays, conventional X-rays, show osteoporosis, it's usually witnessing a fracture, which is the horse is out of the barn, too late to treat or prevent. But the Dexa Scan is a recent advancement. I brought one to Richmond in the 1980s. Switch topics, audiology, screening for hearing loss. When I came to Richmond, there were a lot of World War II veterans in my community. Many of them had been exposed to naval gunfire or conventional ground artillery. There was a lot of hearing loss among veterans, and we're in Richmond, Michigan. Many people worked in plants. At that time, noise abatement was not a top priority in plants, stamping plants, rolling plants. So screening for hearing loss had to be done in a soundproof room. There is now technology that with sophisticated ear devices, screening can be done in any room, broader access to screening, more people can be found early where prevention is still a distinct possibility. Ultrasound. I don't know what my audience experience with ultrasound is, but it is an amazing advancement in healthcare. There are handheld devices now that can diagnose gallstones, kidney stones. Ultrasounds today are augmented with artificial intelligence. They can tell you the width of the muscles of your heart. They can tell you the chamber dimensions of your heart. They can map the blood flow in your carotid arteries. They are absolutely amazing. They were developed in the 80s, refined in the 90s. The programs are still being refined. They are an absolute amazing device. Office laboratory. When I started in practice, laboratory studies in office were extremely limited. We did pregnancy tests, we did urinalysis, we could do blood sugars. That was about the extent of office lab. Today, there are many sophisticated kits that are available. Add 2 drops of this to 4 drops of that, and you get a result. Office laboratory has expanded. Office laboratories still must be certified, pass rigid exams that are ongoing and difficult to pass. Make sure if you are subjected to laboratory studies that your lab is certified. Blood pressure measurement. When I started in practice, the gold standard was the mercury manometer. Mercury has disappeared from medicine, as well it should. The sophisticated electronic devices are durable and precise. Dr. Mcclellan's going to mount a soapbox for a minute. In spite of the sophistication of the equipment, the technique of taking blood pressure is critical. The American Heart Association has a website. There are 8 criteria for taking blood pressure correctly. I urge every one of you to be familiar with those and make sure your blood pressure is taken correctly. This physician and the literature that I read says any blood pressure not taken correctly is worthless. Fundoscopic exam, the look at the back of the eye to determine disease. When I started practice, the fundoscopes were sophisticated but not powerful enough. Most eyes needed to be dilated. There is a slight risk with dilating a pupil. The newer fundoscopes, at least for screening exams, do not require dilation of the eye. Blood sugar. Finger sticks multiple times with very limited options for insulin coverage of elevated blood sugars in type 1 diabetics. Today, you have probably seen them advertised on television. There's a device that can stick on your skin, measure your blood pressure continuously, transmit it to your cell phone, and beyond that, transmit it to an implantable insulin pump loaded once a day that provides you with 24-hour insulin coverage. I have 2 nephews, both of whom high school students are type 1 diabetics, came down within several months of each other with that disease. They are both wearing that device. They both have insulin pumps. They're both pretty sophisticated athletes, and their sport of all things is cross-country running, and they're both ranked in the state. That would not have been possible when I started practice in 1965. Things that are gone, white coats. Most physicians today are dressing much more casually. You often see physicians and other allied personnel in scrub suits. Registered nurse caps. There are some nurses in this room that I admire. They at one time wore caps. I haven't seen a nurse with a cap on in at least 15 years. Autopsies. In training, I was in the autopsy room probably twice a week on a pretty regular basis. I also served this community as a deputy medical examiner. I was in the autopsy room episodically for sudden, unexplained, and violent death. Routine autopsies today are seldom, if ever, performed. Forensic autopsies are still performed. Political activity by physicians. Physicians early on, 1965 and for a decade or two later, were quite politically active. Today, most physicians are employed. For example, if your doctor is employed and has a TV in his waiting room, the content of that TV is regulated by his employer. What you see is, by design, what his employer will allow. Political activity by physicians is significantly diminished. Switch gears and go to advances in treatment. In 75, a group of community leaders formed a committee in Lenox Township and Richmond, Michigan. That committee established the Richmond-Lenox Ambulance Authority. The arrival of Jeff White in 1989 established the Richmond-Lenox Authority as one of the premier organizations of that type in the state of Michigan. Now, a fully staffed ambulance is available to us. In addition, Jeff White offers many, many programs in support of our community. Changes in treatment of disease protocols. I've found that a lot of lay people do not understand protocols. But let me just run through a couple areas where protocols are extremely helpful. Pap smears. We know when to start screening women with a pap smear. We know at what frequency to screen them, and we know when to stop. Mammograms, same thing. We know when to start, we know what frequency, we know when to stop. Marriage exams, they're governed by protocol, what to ask, what exams to do. Tuberculosis testing is a protocol issue. It is done widely under directions. Dexa Scan I referred to. We know when to screen women for osteoporosis. We know how frequently to screen them. We know when to stop. Protocols are useful in specific disease states. Certain cancers. MD Anderson publishes protocols for dose recommendations, frequency. A lot of medicine is driven today by protocols. That's one of the few advantages of the electronic medical record. Things that happened in Richmond, besides Richmond-Lenox Ambulance. Community leaders in our community have made a major effort to make Richmond more walkable. There is an excellent study that shows communities that are more walkable have lower community blood pressures than communities where their community is not walkable. The expansion of the Parks and Recreation Department in Richmond, Michigan has been a huge advantage for Richmond, Michigan. The health benefits are obvious. A essentially unimaginable tragedy occurred in our community. It provoked community leaders to organize. We have a swimming pool in Richmond, Michigan. There have been no drownings since that swimming pool was built. I want to end with one other comment. I am and was a friend of public health. I reported diseases that were required by law. I reported industrial accidents. I saw positive things happen from both of those. I saw occupational improvement, safety harnesses so that the press would not come down when your hand was in it. I saw improvement in farm chemicals. These changes were brought about through the Public Health Department. I am deeply concerned that a portion of the population has lost respect and confidence in the public health system. I am concerned that all of us in this room are at increased risk because of that loss. I thank you for attention. I'll be at my place if you have questions after the program. Thank you very much.
I stayed pretty close to on time. Yeah, and he means what he said at the end there. Our next speaker is going to be Mary Ellen Shepard Logan. I'll introduce her properly, but it's going to take a minute, I think, to get set up. And while they're setting up, you can imagine how difficult it is to do something like that. Condense medical history into, I don't know how many, 18 minutes. I didn't even pay attention. It was interesting, and you don't look at your watch when it's interesting. So, good stuff. But if you do have any questions about the things that he was talking about, or maybe even some doctor that you went to in the area and you wonder what happened to him and so forth, why, see him. Free medical exams? I don't know about that.
No, bring your card.
Yeah, okay. All right. Our next presentation is one that you're used to as well and you look forward to. Mary Ellen is going to tell us what happened this year. This is a year of transition. In 2020, we were completely shut down. 2021, we tried to get out of the closet and become a little bit more active. And you'll see and hear about some of the things that went on this year. So we'll turn it over to Mary Ellen.
If you want to take a seventh inning stretch right now, go ahead. It's going to be just a minute. Okay. I don't think there are very many people here that have not experienced Dr. Mcclellan at some time as a citizen of Richmond. So thank you for all of your years. Can you hear me? Do I actually need this? I do? All right. Okay, so our year in review. This is the time in our program when we look back at our year and all the wonderful things that have happened. We look at our successes. We look at moving forward and many of the wonderful things that have happened throughout the year. But before we do this, I think we need to take a minute right now and remember those people that left us last year. Mike Donnelly, Charlene Hawes, Nina Jackman, Marge Penzine, Fran Clagans, Ralph Ryans, and Matt Creek. Well, our board had a wonderful selection of programs and events planned for 2021, and we had a whole slate of things, and unfortunately, some of those had to be canceled, but we did have our annual dinner. It just looked a little different last year than it had previous years because what did we have to do? We went virtual, and that was a whole new thing for many of us and many of the members. And we didn't have to wear a mask at this dinner. We didn't have to maintain social distancing. We could stay in our pajamas and eat chips and watch the entire dinner from our computers at home. So that was a whole new experience. Once again, we had our election of officers during our meeting. And John Beard, President, Don Graham, Vice President, Christine Nolan, Secretary, Diane Gibson, Treasurer, and Directors, Norm Gibson, Rich Weiner, and Marcia Phillips. We had our foundation board election, Ken Simmons, President, Sarah Foster, Secretary Treasurer, Dr. Pat McClellan, Dennis Boland, and Thomas Cable as directors. And our president for many years, Christine Rowley, shared the history of our society and the progress that the society has made throughout the years. And she said her farewell to all of us. Well, her farewell as president. She's not gone anywhere, really. And our foundation president, Ken Simmons, spoke to us on the role of the foundation and the positive impact that charitable giving has made throughout the years for the society as well as the foundation and the vision of the society. Long-term planning, Rich Weiner, you heard from him this year, and I'm going to apologize right now because some of what I say is redundant with Rich and Norm, but it happened last year, so I'm going to talk about it. But you know, Rich is really a very hard worker on that committee, and he spoke also about donations that were given last year, the projects that happened through the long-term preservation committee's influence, and the attempt at securing. What did you try to secure? I'm having one of those moments. Does anybody else here have those occasionally? Anyway, an attempt at securing a grant. Now, we all know Norm Gibson. We heard from him this year, and we hear from him a lot. He has a lot of knowledge about the society and what's happened throughout the years and acquisitions, and he spoke about all of that this evening. And we all think that Norm works solo and all this wonderful work he does, which is absolutely wonderful. But you know, behind every great man is a great woman, and none of that, of what he does, would be possible without Diane. Now, Diane shared with you the treasurer's report this evening, and if you want to know where the money is, where the money went, who spent the money, how much was spent, or where anything is located in that village and in that museum, you go to Diane. And believe me, I go to her quite often. So a shout out to Diane for all the help that she gives through the years. Now, a Slice of Richmond was started year before last, actually, with the Weeks family. And the Weeks family shared with us all of their family history. We learned a lot about their family. And that night, we learned a whole lot about the meat market and the meat business. And last year, our featured family was the Miller family. And Terry Miller, the president of Miller Coal, shared with us his family history. And we learned a great deal about the cement work and about them coming to Richmond. And they actually came in 1924 and established a feed business, and from there went into the cement business. And his son, Aaron, a fourth-generation Miller, is in line now to take over that business. So they're really looking forward to that. And as Terry said, they have built miles and miles of sidewalks and driveways in this community, in the surrounding area. Well, we had a lot of things planned, and unfortunately, COVID reared its ugly head, and we had to cancel a few of our programs last year, but the work continued. And to start off, the work was at Heritage Festival, and that committee was headed by Don Graham, and on the committee was Mike Battani, Doug Fort, Chris Hench, Chris Nolan, Tim Ritz, and myself. And you see there at the registration desk is Doug and Sharon Fort, and they checked everyone in, gave them the necessary information, told them where they needed to park their vehicles. And of course, there isn't any event that is successful without the help of sponsors and donors. And an event like this really does take a lot of planning and a lot of support from people. So we really do think that the Richmond Antique Engine and Threshing, Shepard Sales and Service, Family Home, and Sunrise Stores, and also the other donors listed on this page. They thought it was important to give to this project that we have, this Heritage Weekend, and without them, none of this would have been possible. So a shout out to all the people that gave, not just through volunteerism, but also the people that are mentioned here. Now, we had food and fun and demonstrations and crackers and cars and parades throughout the weekend. And under the tent, We had a Michigan-made raffle basket, and Penny Hooper and Susan Foster sold tickets to that. And my husband Doug and I manned the food tent. We served coffee and donuts, grilled hot dogs, had chips and snacks for the kids throughout the weekend. And there we go. And you see on the left there Don Graham. Now, he's overseeing operations, and that is really a very blurry picture. But try to get one that isn't blurry when he's running around there all weekend long, keeping things going. So he was a great event coordinator and organizer for this event. New to the Heritage Festival was the Heritage Featured Family. Say that past 8 times. And this year it was the Quick family who were so generous to come in and share their family history with us in the school. So this is something that we would like to continue for the next years. If you would like to have your family featured, we would love to have you do that. So come see me and we'll get that set up. That's in the weekend in June during the Heritage Festival. Now here you see our city manager, John Moore, and I have to say, John is extremely supportive of all of the regs, events, and programs. And I was telling someone earlier this evening that he rarely misses something that regs does. I think he did miss one time for his mother's birthday. I don't know why he would have done that, but he did. And you see here, John is getting ready to have a hot dog. So we said John was our taste tester. And if John survived, then we could serve those hot dogs to everyone else. And he did. And the Manchek family there also had some family time under the tent. Now, the tractor parade is something everyone looks forward to during the Heritage Festival, when they move those tractors out and start them up, and they parade around the village. However, Doug Port's little tractor parade really is the highlight for all the youngsters when he takes them around the village too. And I don't know how many trips he made around with that tractor, but it was nonstop, and the children just truly, truly love it. We had demonstrations throughout the village. We had carvers in the barn, lace makers in the school, candle making and spinning in the cabin, and our candle maker and our spinner are with us tonight. Mike Batani and the Bell River Forge group demonstrated blacksmithing skills on the lawn by the barn. And also on the lawn, we had fun and games that was manned by Chris Nolan and Chris Hench. And we also had our goats there for the little ones to pet. Now, sawing logs into shingles and branding them. I don't think that there was a guy that was there that didn't stop and take a look at this during the weekend. It was one of the highlights for most of the guys. When the tractors weren't parading, they were set up for all to see. And not to be outdone by the fabulous tractors, we had vintage and refurbished vehicles also joined in the Heritage Fund. And I believe we may have had a drop of rain, and you can see he's cleaning that up. He's very particular with these beautiful automobiles. And we know when that school opens, there's nothing more fun than ringing the bell. And docenting for us in the school this weekend was Ursula Adamson and Jean Waterloo. And we celebrated Jean's 89th birthday that day. And every year she helps. She's always a docent in the school. We so appreciate both of those women. Now also during the Heritage Farm was our Michigan Log Cabin Day. And as you can see, there's nothing finer than to sit on the lawn by the Donnelly cabin and have a picnic. And Dr. Pat Mcclellan was a docent in the museum, and there he is demonstrating an Indian artifact to one of our young visitors. And Norm mentioned that new to the museum this year was the Native American collection that Al Collins supplied for us. And it is a wonderful collection. So if you get a chance to come in and take a look at that on Thursday, you need to do that. Next to that Native American collection is what Norm and Diane refer to as the this and that. So it's really an eclectic collection of many things, and And Diane insisted that I take this picture of the woman doing the laundry. I don't know why that was important that we had to have that as the elective part, but that is one of the displays in the museum now. And you know, it takes a lot of that to get to that. And we really want to thank the following people who were what I call the 2021 Garden Angels, headed by Marsha Phillips, Steve Phillips, Charlotte Krasinski, Chris Hinch, Petty Yelnich, Charlotte Ward, Don Grant, Chris Nolan, Norm Gibson, Bob Kohlhagen, and Mike Mcclellan. Many thanks to all of these who keep those gardens beautiful throughout the summer. And then it was a big day when the livestock arrived at the barn, 2 horses and a cow, and they were new to the barn this year. The horses actually arrived in June, and the cow just before Good Old Days. And so, you know, you have animals, you have to have names, right? So what better way to name our animals than to have a contest? So we held a contest, and you see here that we have Cheryl on the left, and Cheryl was named by Kate Billamy, and it was after a relative. And then you see Nicholas, who was named by Marguerite Little, after one of her favorite horses. And up in the top right-hand corner is Hershey the cow, and Hershey was named by Katie Arnold. And you know, you can't ride the horses in that barn, but you can milk the cow. And at long last, the beloved hand car restoration. 9 months into the making, the 1911 hand car donated by Joe Maranzano was restored. And here's the before picture and the after picture. And here they're getting ready to take it for a test drive. There's the restoration crew, Sean Buckert, Joe Maranzano, Norm Gibson, Michael Buckert, and Weldon Felco. And we want to thank Neil Bryan at the Backyard Living for sharing this abandoned railroad spur for the test drive. And there's the test drive. So it works. Yay, Norm. Well, our school section school, you know, we love this school. It was built in 1886, closed in 1952, and was given to the society in 1990 by Jim McCurney. It was moved to the historical park in 1994. Many hours and lots of work have gone into the restoration of the school and keeping it in good shape. And most recently, as Rich shared with us, there was restoration done on the bell tower and also in the siding around the house. Now, Mike Musket and Norm Gibson replaced and repaired the siding, and Mike Musket spent several hours underneath the school actually jacking up the floor joists. Not only was work done on the school last year, but also there was some repainting done on the garden shed, the building itself, and the sign, and you can see Rich working on that. And electricity in the barn. Well, yay, almost. Detroit Edison has been there, and they got their part done, and so we are ready to move ahead with finishing it in 2022, and that is exciting. Now, all the work around the village didn't stop the Rags from doing more events that summer, and whenever possible, we opened it up to the public. In July, we had our Into the Village, when you can stroll through the buildings and the gardens and walk the brick pavers. And also, during that time, we hosted the East Side A's Car Club, and they brought in their cars and had them on display. And it really was a really wonderful weekend from the very beginning to the end. That moves us right into good old days, and good old days looked a little different this year than it has in past years, but we had it. And there you see the barn was open, and we have one of our young visitors running the corn grinder, and another one running the bean sorter. And then we have our own Sandy Lenzer up there with Hershey, and you're never too old or too young to milk that cow. Another program we had was the Ancestral journey with Doug Rasmussen, and many of you remember the Rasmussen family in town, and he shared with us his 40 years of genealogy and his search for his family roots. It was a wonderful evening, and pictured with him is what he called one of his favorite teachers and extremely influential in his life, our own Lucia Marshall. And that really was our segue for our 4th annual Living History Cemetery Walk. And you see there the actors housed between, on the left, Sandy Lenzer, a guide, and on the right, Cheryl Olmstead, one of our guides, and not pictured one of our guides was Chris Nolan. I don't know how she escaped the photo, but she did. We actually moved the cemetery walk from October to September, hoping for better weather. And about an hour before we started, it actually stopped raining. So I guess that was a good move after all. And on the left is myself and Diane Gibson. We portrayed Mrs. Daniel Hall and her daughter Sarah Hall. And my dot is moving a little too fast. Don't follow the red dot. And next to Diane is Glenn Quick, who portrayed James Quick. Sean Misko portrayed Ben Bolt, and Lucia portrayed Mary Lou Bolt. And then Pat Bartosiewicz told her Fletcher family story, and Marcia Fletcher portrayed her mother Lois, and Dr. McClellan portrayed Ken Rasmussen. So thank you to all of those actors, and I understand some of you were there. No. Okay, I thought that's what Don said. Don? Oh, you were? If you're interested in portraying a character, let me know. We're always looking for fresh meat, as they say. The Orphan Train was one of our last programs of the year, and it was such an interesting program because Alan Dave Ecker has done extensive work on the Orphan Train, which actually ran throughout the United States and Michigan from 1894 until 1923, and they placed 240,000 children in homes during that time, children that would have been on the streets otherwise. Well, we planned for our holiday evening in the village during the Richmond celebration, but unfortunately we canceled it. And the reason it was canceled was really because much of what we were doing was inside the buildings. It was predominantly with children, and children were not vaccinated at that time. We did not feel that it was a safe environment to bring the children into, so we canceled it for that reason. But we are coming back next year, and we decorated the village as we always do, with lights and candles in the buildings, and it really made it a warm and welcome place for people to come during the holidays. And kind of our theme each year at the end of this has been, we cannot become what we need to be by remaining what we are. And I think when we look back at the year that we had, we kept moving forward to become what we need to be. And it's because of all of you and your donations and your volunteerism and your support of the society that we are able to do that. So thank you to all of you. We are looking forward to 2022 and seeing all of you in the village. That includes our year in review. Thank you and safe travels.
Good stuff there. And as you can see, even in a COVID-hampered year, a lot was done And obviously that requires work and it requires people. And if you are inspired, maybe that's the word, inspired by what you've just seen and would like to participate in that, we'd love to talk to you, even if you've only got an hour or two. During the year, I think all of us want to leave behind some indication that we passed through this area. Listening to Pat, you know, I was here, I did something that was worthwhile, I contributed to the community, and all of these things that you've just heard about fall into that category. So by all means, if you want to get more involved, I see some of these people that we've been talking about. Now, generally, the president would say a couple of words at this point. On the back of your packet, you will see the president's comments. They're a little bit brief. And again, it's been a great year, and we got a lot done. And the village is kept up, and it's useful to the community, and we want to continue to see that. And I don't think I'll say any more than that, but we really appreciate all of the efforts of all of the people's names that appeared up here, the pictures that appeared up here, and a lot of you participated, contributed. Maybe your name wasn't up here, but that effort is appreciated, and we thank you so much. Special thank you to Maniacis, their staff. I was so impressed by these girls that waited on the tables and all of that. Now, there is one more thing before we adjourn the meeting, and hopefully all of you had the opportunity to participate in the raffle. And I didn't check with Doug or Tom about who's going to come up and announce the winners. And maybe that gives you, if anybody wants to run up to them with money in hand, they probably would not turn it down. What's that? You will. All right, I'm going to walk the microphone over to you.
$205 went to the society, so I got 205 left. And to make it having more winners, I divided up into 3 places, first, second, third place. And I'm going to announce the winner for the third place first. And I'm going to have my niece Gracie draw the ticket. All right, the winning ticket is 277762. 277762. Third place. Third place is $45. I'd like to give that back to the rest. Thank you, Brad. Thank you. All right, this is for second place. And second place is $60. Gracie? Number is 277364. 364. The last digit. Heather Lyon. Don't forget to get that back to Joe. Thank you very much. She donated it back to society. All right, first place is $100, and the winner is 277365. 365. Heather won again. And she donated that back to society as well. Thank you all very much.
All right, I was hoping somebody was going to donate some of that money to Rich for winning Volunteer of the Year. Prize money or something like that. But, right, we're almost done now. Are there any brief comments from any of you about your experience with RAGS, the year? Anything you want to say before we dismiss? Yes.
Yeah, I just want to tell you, I got a text from a friend
Thank you, yes. And we do appreciate all of you who have joined online. And for those of you here, you will be able to see this, I believe, on YouTube when the event is done.
The link on the Facebook
Facebook page of Bragg's.
Yeah.
There'll be a link.
YouTube link.
Yep. So you will be able to see this event again. And I've picked on you enough, but it will also relive that award that we just got. And you can say, I was there.
Can we still drink?
I don't. You're the expert now. Any other comments? Yes, Chris?
I'd just like to, on behalf of the whole group here, to thank the officers that donated this past year's service. I thought a round of applause for them.
I like to be first in line. All right, any other comments? Otherwise, the official part of our program then is adjourned. Thank you for being here. And I don't know what time we're supposed to be out of here, but I assume we still have a little bit of time to, yeah, you can chat with each other and perhaps have another go at the bar and talk with one another. So thank you.